smoke is just about cleared. Behind us, the hoopla is just about over. And we're going to play, I think, pretty soon.
Well, and the hoopla is the greatest part of it. You know, if you're in pro football, this is your life. And right now, there's no place you'd rather be than right down there in the field. And 30 teams start, and they go to training camp, and they have training camp and preseason and regular season, playoffs, championship games to get here. I remember when I coached the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl XXI, before we went out in the field, I told them, I said, you know, we haven't done anything yet. You know, getting here is nothing. Winning here is the greatest.
I was part of the broadcast in Super Bowl #1, and believe me, it's nothing like that. John, nobody expected Atlanta to be here, as I said a minute ago. What do you think Atlanta has to do to beat Denver?
Now, I think they need a big day from Jamal Anderson, because offensively, that's where they start. If Jamal Anderson has a big day and the Denver Broncos have to worry about that run, then Chris Chandler can be a lot more effective. He can be effective without a running game, but if he has a running game, the best thing that he does is fake that run to Jamal Anderson and pass off of that. Now, on defense, they're going to have to be able to stop Terrell Davis. I mean, that's the thing that they have to do. They can't let him run wild. Then if they can contain him, then they can go after some other things. And you think, how did the Atlanta Falcons get here? They got here by takeaways. They led the league in takeaways, and if they're going to win today, they're going to have to get the turnovers.
On paper, Denver certainly has, we think, more weapons. They look like the best team. What do they have to do?
Well, I think they just have to play Denver Bronco football, and anytime you talk to a coach and a quarterback, which we did with Mike Shanahan and John Elway, they both said the same, that we can't turn the ball over. Well, what that means to me is you think you're better than they are, you know they're better than they are, and if you don't give them the game, there's nothing they can do about it. So I think offensively, Mike Shanahan is the most aggressive play caller in football. I think he has to do that. Then I think defensively, they just have to play that run and then gang up in the pass, because if there's any place the Denver Broncos are vulnerable, it's pass defense. They're 26th in the league in pass defense.
And Mike Shanahan, as you said, is one of those coaches who likes to attack defense. Pat Summerall here with John Madden. And John, we've been here 2 weeks. A lot's been going on, and now they're going to play.
And we're finally getting down to this kickoff. And I know that, you know, when I was coaching, I would always, in a big game, I would rather kick off than receive, because I would rather have my defense start the game, because they're playing on emotion rather than my offense.
Maybe more emotion today than would be normal. The ball flew off the tee. The winds, as you saw, blowing about 10 miles an hour. Mike Shanahan, a very, very aggressive coach, as we've been pointing out before, one who likes to attack a defense. That's Tim Dwight, and there's no such thing as a touchback with him.
And there is an exciting football player, Tim Dwight. He's only a rookie out of Iowa, but he is a heck of a returner. The ball just blew off the tee for a second time, so now what they do is they bring in a holder.
Right, and that is Torrey Jones, who's come in to hold it.
You know, and that really doesn't affect their coverage when they do this, Pat, because the guy that they bring in to hold is also the safety. So on every kickoff coverage, you have two safeties.
Torrey James holding. And the kick sails down to Tim Dwight at about the 6. And Dwight has some room and a hole to go, and from behind, and it's a good thing by George Coghill.
He is an exciting guy, isn't he? That Tim Dwight. Woo!
Let's have a look at the Atlanta starting lineup. Chris Chandler is the quarterback. Reeves, Dan Reeves, and everyone else said he's a lot better than we thought he was going to be. There's the offensive line. Collins, Williams, Tobeck, the center, Whitfield, and Salam. Backs and receivers, Kozlowski, Tony Martin and Terrence Mathis wide, and Jamal Anderson, number 32, the deep back. Kozlowski in front of him as Mathis moves in motion. Jamal Anderson, midfield, first down. Let's look at the Denver defense as they're challenged on first down. As you pointed out, John, this is the one, if there is a weak spot for Denver, and that is their defensive unit. The linebackers are very active. Mobley, Pedrez in the middle, and Romanowski in the secondary. Atwater and Crockett, Braxton and Gordon. 1st and 10 Atlanta at midfield.
Denver's playing these first downs with 8 men up, 8 in the box to stop the run.
This time they're successful as Jamal Anderson gets to carry for no gain.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Broncos are very aggressive against the run. Minnesota tried that, and they tried to bring that 8th man up, that extra guy who will always be a safety. And then what the Falcons did is they went play pass on that and threw against it. That was the 2nd first down in a row, and they went 8 men in the box both times, and the Atlanta Falcons ran both times. Of course, Jamal Anderson was very successful against it on the first run.
Usually it's Atwater who comes up. 2nd and 10. Chandler. Tony Martin made the stretching catch, kept it in bounds, picked up about 5.
Tony Martin is really something. He's their speed guy. You know, Terrence Mathis plays the other side. He does that possession stuff, and you'll see Tony Martin right out here, and he has good speed. So when a guy has good speed, a defensive back tends to give more of a cushion, like Ray Crockett did on that play, and you can get a lot of stuff in front of him. Although I think that one was too short.
They give him 4 yards, making it 3rd and 6. And another passing down for Chandler, who goes deep. We were hoping flag if you were the Atlanta player pointing. That was Tony Martin, and a flag he got.
Yeah, but that was Ray Crockett on Tony Martin out there. The Denver Broncos on that defense were nickel defense, meaning they used 5 defensive backs.
27 defense, first down.
Pass defense called against Atwater.
That's Steve Atwater. Well, Crockett is up here. Steve Atwater is the guy that's back, so he didn't call pass interference here, and you're going to see him come over. No, they called the wrong guy. That was Ray Crockett.
Yep, it was.
Yeah, Atwater didn't even make the picture.
No.
So if they called that, it had to be on Ray Crockett.
25-yard penalty. 1st and 10 Atlanta. Jamal Anderson takes the pitch back, cuts back inside the 20 to the 15 and crosses it.
You know, one thing, Pat, you always talk about these games and being big games, you have to be able to run and pass, but turnovers and penalties always play such a big part in it. But we said earlier that Jamal Anderson has to get off to a good start, and a good start is like this, finding holes so that he can square his shoulders and run downhill.
Which is exactly what he's doing right here.
Look how powerful he is. I mean, from the waist down, he is very, very powerful, and that's where he gets all his drive.
5'11", just over 230.
And when he was in college, he was a 250-pound fullback.
2nd and 3. Anderson again. He is close to a first down. Brought down by Atwater and Traylor.
Tell you one thing, this Atlanta Falcons team is coming out and going after this Denver Bronco defense. And another thing I'll say, that Jamal Anderson early in this game is running much more aggressively than he did 2 weeks ago early in the game against the Vikings.
That's noticeable already.
Because the Broncos have done everything so far to take it away, you know, to take that run away. They've been up there, and again, they've had Atwater up, they've brought their safeties up, and this Atlanta Falcon offense has been able to gash them.
Sticks are brought out for a measurement. This turf's in great shape. George Toma and his son, who usually work on the Super Bowl turf, are to be commended for an excellent job here.
Yeah, Dan Reeves is saying 2 tight ends. Oh, here's something interesting. He's putting little Tim Dwight in there. Now, sometimes they'll sneak Tim Dwight in the backfield.
Light him up at tailback.
Yep, and they're not doing it here. I mean, he's out there as a slot now. But they got that bunch formation. You see the 3 guys over
to the
here.
right. To the right. 3rd and short. The sneak by Chandler should be enough. It is. First down, Atlanta.
Yeah, that was the old trick where you put the bunch out there and you want them to say, look out for the bunch, bunch right, bunch right, bunch right, and then your quarterback sneak. You see what happens? See, they're getting them here, so everything is pointing out here. Everyone's looking, what are they going to do out here? And then you just take your quarterback and let him sneak the ball. See, they spread them out a little, then they give them motion, and then they get their lead with the motion, and Chris Chandler just picks up that first down.
Just outside the 10.
It's the old distraction before the sneak.
Mathis, the move man. The handoff is to Anderson. Finds a little gap and gets to about the 8. Stopped by Tanabasa.
Against the Minnesota Vikings, we said how the Atlanta Falcons started out, and they started out passing in order to run later. And in this game, they're starting out running. I mean, that time they just went to the left side, and he just got right in there behind Brian Kozlowski.
Well, if you talk to the coaches, both of them, almost to a word, said the same thing. We got to be able to run the ball, and we've got to be able to stop the run.
Well, you know, Chris Chandler told us yesterday, he said, I hope we start out passing and then run later, but he didn't get his hope.
Nope. Back to throw it. Here comes the Bronco blitz, and Chandler is going to take off with it. Throws it incomplete. For Santiago, who was...
Oh, and Bill Romanowski really had a shot on him. As you said, he was coming on a blitz, and he had Chandler zeroed in. And Chandler feels it. Here's Romanowski right here. Now watch here. Chandler feels it right now. He gets picked off a little, and he just steps up. The guy that saved him was his fullback, Brian Kozlowski.
That's exactly right. Here's Santiago, who tipped the ball. 3rd and goal at the 8.
The 9th play of the drive.
Chandler drops. Here comes a blitz again, and down goes Chandler in the arms of Romanowski.
Romanowski didn't get him on the other side, but he's zeroed in on from the right side. He said, I missed him once. He said, Kozlowski got me. You got away, but you didn't get away that time. The Broncos, you see, they're not only bringing Romanowski, they're bringing number 21, Darian Gordon,
off the corner. Yeah.
See, they're bringing both of them. Here comes Romanowski to the inside, Darian Gordon from the outside. And Romanowski, until this year, had not been a big blitzer for the Denver Broncos.
From 32 yards out, Morton Anderson will try to put the Falcons on the board. He hit the one in overtime. This one's good as well. Pro Players Stadium packed to the limits, and more people outside in the parking lots that couldn't get in. Atlanta 3-0. 9:35 left to play in the first quarter. The Falcons took the opening kickoff and scored a field goal from 38 yards away by Morton Anderson. 10 plays. On the ground, gets past the return man Vaughn Hebron, and he'll down it in the end zone. And Atlanta 3, Denver 0. First quarter, 9:25 left. Denver with the ball for the first time, led by their leader, the quarterback John Elway. The offensive line, they don't talk, they just block. And a speedy group of receivers for Elway, and a great running back, Terrell Davis, Rod Smith, Shannon Sharp, the tight end. We'll let you know exactly how he feels. One deep back, and now he leads. That was Howard Griffith, the fullback, and Elway fires incomplete, almost intercepted. Terrell Davis, the intended receiver, went through his hands, bounced off him, and almost picked off. Here's the Atlanta defense, the front four. You don't hear a lot about them, but they get the job done. Cornelius Bennett, Jesse Tuggle in the middle, and Henri Crockett. Bradford, Robinson, White, and Buchanan. That's the secondary.
The second play in a row, the Broncos are in an empty backfield.
Elway fires across the middle. Pass fluttered getting there, but it got there to Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, this is a thing that the Broncos will do to spread yet. See, here's John Elway here. Then he has a receiver here, 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 and here. 5 receivers, and no one in the backfield other than the quarterback. And they started out that formation on first down and then second down. Like Mike Shanahan says, he said, I want to spread them out early, go empty early and see what they're going to do to it.
Not empty now as McCaffrey goes in motion. Terrell Davis, couple of yards.
You know, and that's the problem with empty is you can't run Terrell Davis, and Terrell Davis is the best running back in football. And I think that, you know, every game that they play, Mike Shanahan says, we have to run Terrell Davis 25 times. And then in this one, he said, you know, maybe in this game we'll run him 30 times. He said, you know, Terrell Davis could run 32 times. And I think if we would have kept there talking to him, he'd be up to about 50 times.
Because there is no next week. He's got a lot of time to get well. Again, he gets the ball. Davis gets another couple.
And the key to this Atlanta defense is they play so well on defense. That these four guys here, 1, 2, 3, 4, when the ball is snapped, they all penetrate and try and play on this side of the line of scrimmage. And they're guys that are strong, and they always play their gaps. You see, they stay in their gaps, and that's the thing about this Atlanta Falcons defense. It is very, very disciplined.
3rd and 7. Elway lines up back in the shotgun. This time it's not an empty backfield, though. That's Rod Smith on the move. Elway drops and throws and has Rod Smith. And Smith breaks one tackle and heads down the sideline. Rod Smith finally knocked out of bounds just short of the 20.
I'll tell you, John Elway, this could be his last game, but he can still gun that thing, can he? He looks like John Elway that played 12 years ago, 15 years ago. It's a nickel defense, and they put in their nickel back, and he just beat him on a slant. And he just started out, then he went to the inside. And one thing about these Bronco receivers, they run well after the ball, and they block well.
1st and 10, Denver at the Atlanta 24. A gain of 41 yards.
I was just saying that they were in nickel, and the guy trying to cover him was Randy Fuller, their nickelback.
Davis gets the carry.
That's the thing about this Bronco offense that makes it so good. You can say that, Terrell Davis is something, and we have to stop him. But then you have John Elway, one of the all-time greats. And he has Rod Smith out on one side, Ed McCaffrey on the other side, and then they got Shannon Sharp as a tight end. So anything you do or any adjustment you make, they have another way to go where they can slice you up.
2nd and 8. Davis deep. The give is to Davis. Room. Inside the 15.
You know, the one thing that they do with Howard Griffith, he's their fullback, and he's going to be their lead. And now they don't always go to the side that he leads to. I mean, he lines up. See, he lines up on that side, leads back on this side. By the time he gets to the hole, there is no one to block. I mean, that thing was blocked so well by the left side of the offensive line, Tony Jones and Mark Schlereth, that there was no one for Howard Griffith to block.
You could see him looking as he came through the hole. Couldn't find anybody.
But you know, that's the old key. The side you line the fullback up to would always be the side that he would lead to. So what they do is they line him up on the right. Then instead of running to the right, they led him back to the left side and kind of a counterplay to Terrell Davis.
1st and 10, Denver. Just about, well, between the 14 and 15-yard line.
You know, the strength of both of these teams is their offense. And both of these defenses are vulnerable. You know, I mean, you can move the ball on these defenses.
If there, or at least we thought, if there was a strength of both teams. Yeah, that's John Elway's yelling that they didn't reset the play clock.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. Is exactly right.
So the referee will go and talk about that. But that's not. If it were too much time, if the clock had been reset, that would be a penalty against the Broncos. But not resetting the clock, they can't penalize the Broncos.
There is no penalty. The clock was not reset. 25.
That's correct. It was not reset. Sorry to say is both these teams, the strength of their defense, and as you pointed out, defense is not their strength. But if there is a strength, they don't allow too much rushing yard.
No, they play the run well. They're very disciplined. Ray Buchanan is a heck of a cornerback.
That's Davis. Didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Chuck Smith came around the corner.
And Chuck Smith is the reason that Davis didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. And like we say all the time, if you're going to stop a great runner, the way to stop him is on his side of the line of scrimmage. And watch Chuck Smith. He's going to come in here. You see, and they were trying to pull and trap him, and he beat that trap, and he ends up on this side of the line of scrimmage, and he gets Terrell Davis before he ever gets back to the original line of scrimmage.
Right around the trapper. He lost about a half a yard. 2nd and 11. Elway. Pass caught by Shannon Sharp. Sharp might be down just shy of the goal line. The Broncos are signaling touchdown. And Sharp is limping. And
that's the first one on Eugene Robinson. We're talking about Eugene Robinson, whether he thought he could play or not. Shannon Sharp gets up limping off that play, but they knew if they had to cover him, if Eugene Robinson was going to get on him, they were going to work the ball to Shannon Sharp. And I'll tell you, you're going to see it here, and he starts to the inside right here, and you see Eugene Robinson just missed the ball there, and Shannon Sharp is so strong that he ran right through Eugene Robinson's try to break up.
2 tight ends set up for the Broncos. Howard Griffith, the ball carrier, puts Denver ahead. Touchdown Broncos.
And you don't see that one a lot. You know, they're really keying on Terrell Davis. And you expect them to hand the ball down there to Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis goes one way. He's used as a decoy. And in fact, they just come back to Howard Griffith. But you see here, they got the motion, and then here comes Howard Griffith here. You see Howard Griffith comes to the left, and you just see Terrell Davis went to the right. So everyone's keying on number 30, and what? They hand it to number 25.
And he
29.
gets into the end zone. Elam for the extra point. 7-3. Denver leads.
You know, there's a lot of airships up here over the stadium today. In fact, there's so many airships, we have our own air traffic control group here at this game.
Picked up by Kozlowski. Here's the injury to Shannon Sharp.
Hey, you watch right here, he catches the ball, he runs right through Eugene Robinson. And watch right here, Ray Buchanan is going to come and hit him right on his left knee. And that's what he injured, his left knee.
When his knee was planted, when his foot was planted.
You can notice on his legs, he wears no pads at all. No knee pads, no thigh pads, no pads.
The Falcons go with 2 tight ends, 1 setback. Chandler drops, throws. Incomplete. Santiago was the intended receiver. The lone setback is Anderson, and here comes the blitz again. Romanowski went by Anderson on the draw play, and Anderson broke through for about 6 yards.
Jamal Anderson was telling us about that 3-legged man. Remember, he was telling how he always gets low, and then he uses his 2 feet to keep him going, his 2 legs, and then anytime he gets close to going down, he gets his shoulders down, then he'll use his hand as he have to, to get him to pop back up. Again, this is a draw play, and the linemen set up like they're going to pass protect and invite the pass rushers up the field, and Jamal Anderson runs right by him.
3rd and short. Anderson. Short is all he got. Alfred Williams made the stop.
Yeah, because his fullback didn't help him at all. You see, Alfred Williams get all excited about that, but Brian Kozlowski is his fullback, and he has to give him a lead, and he gives him nothing whatsoever. But here's Alfred Williams here. Here's where he's going to start. You see Kozlowski there? Alfred Williams just comes in, and he drills Kozlowski. Then he does a spin on Kozlowski, and then he tackles Jamal Anderson.
And Dan Straczynski comes in to punt for Atlanta.
Yeah, and his nickname is the Hangman.
The Hangman doesn't allow many returns. A lot of fair catches, and there's one of them. The Broncos back away from it, and the Falcons down it. Super Bowl 33, Denver 7, Atlanta 3, 2:12 left in the first. Denver ball at their own 25. John Elway, 2 tight ends. That's their offensive setup. 1 lone setback. Terrell Davis gets 4. Bodies bounce backwards.
You know, in football, one of the sneakiest guys is a center, and you know they all have the tricks. Most centers were like wrestlers and stuff, and you know, and Tom Nalen is that way. The center, what he's doing, in fact, the Atlanta Falcon linemen are complaining about it, that he comes up and he moves the ball. You know, I mean, he gets up there, so they're lined up like right now on the ball, and he comes up and moves it.
2nd and 4. Elway, one-handed catch, fires, incomplete. Intended for Sharp.
You know, John Elway, we were talking to him yesterday and asking him if he likes that empty backfield, you know, when he has no one back there with him. And he says he really does like it because it tends to spread everything out and it's easier for him to see. He likes the shotgun, the throw from the shotgun, rather than, you know, being up under center. And he said the other thing that it really does, it loosens up the defense, and then he can come back and give him another dose of Terrell Davis.
He's in the shotgun now, but not with the empty backfield. Davis comes out of the backfield. The pass incomplete, intercepted by Atlanta. Picked off on the rebound by Ronnie Bradford. And the Falcons get a break.
That was a perfect throw by John Elway. Shannon Sharp was right in his hands. It bounces up. Number 23, Ronnie Bradford, is right there. Watch me. Shannon Sharp is going to run it out here. Now watch this pass. It's right in his hands. It bounces, goes through his hands, bounces off his shoulder pad, and right into Ronnie Bradford. Watch this. A good out move here. Through his hands, hits his shoulder pads, up over his neck, and there's number 23, Ronnie Bradford.
Pass was there. That should have been a completion.
Oh, it has to be a completion. I mean, 99 times out of 100, Shannon Sharp catches that ball. But this is the thing that got the Atlanta Falcons here, their takeaways.
1st and 10 Atlanta, just outside the Denver 35.
Tim Dwight's in the backfield.
That's Dwight. He can throw it, but he's not going to. Dwight cuts back to the 30. That guy, number 83, I mean, he does things like jump out of third-story windows into a snowbank and jump off 60-foot cliffs. And
you know, they drafted him.
kickoff.
They drafted him as a return man, and he was so good as a return man that Dan Reeves was just thinking of different ways to get the ball in his hands. So he not only has him as a wide receiver and a punt return and a kick return, but he also has plays for him like that when he puts him in as a back.
This is Anderson. There is some room there for Jamal Anderson down close to the 25. And that's Cadrez.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good change of pace for him to give it Tim Dwight. And then you come back with the power of Jamal Anderson.
O.J. Santiago, the tight end, and Bill Romanowski, the linebacker.
They had to get over where the play is. They were about 10 yards away from the play. Those two, I have no idea what the heck they were doing.
We're not best friends, that's for sure. That is Shannon Sharp. They're headed for the dressing room to retape that bad knee.
Look who's in the backfield here, Pat. Big old guard, Bob Hallen, number 64.
In front of Jamal Anderson.
And they're going to go where Hallen goes. Where 64 goes is where the ball will go.
That's where they went. And that second surge might have gotten the first down, but he didn't get any more than that.
You know, they lost their fullback, Bob Christian, and then they played Brian Kozlowski, and he has a stress fracture, and he's really not the powerful blocker. So Dan Reeves is trying to get an extra blocker there. So he's putting his backup rookie guard, Bob Hallen, in there and letting him be a fullback, and he didn't really ream out too much on that play either.
No, there wasn't a big hole, was there?
When Cadrez, the middle linebacker for the Broncos, got his hat knocked off in that skirmish. Of course, they didn't have far to go. They only needed an inch or two.
Enough to measure anyway.
That's how these things are spotted.
And I imagine if they didn't make it.
You see what he did?
What was that?
He put the spot in the wrong place. The spot's supposed to go on the line, not the ball. He put it on the ball, but that is short. Now, this is going to be interesting here.
You got to go for it.
I think in this situation, I'm saying this, I'm not second guessing, I'm first guessing. I think in this situation, the first half, plenty of time. Look, we're just going into the second quarter. I think you kick the field goal here, especially with Morton Anderson. I mean, that's automatic.
Almost. But we learned 2 weeks ago in Minnesota, nothing is automatic.
I wouldn't be surprised. The length of time that they spent in the huddle, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a play-action pass here.
Down less than 10 seconds on the play clock now. Motion starts. That's the backup tight end. Here's the pitch back to Jamal Anderson. I don't think he's going to get it.
Not going to be close. He lost.
Not even close. No. Keith Traylor. That play that was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. I mean, I think it was a bad idea not to take the 3 there, go for the 3, and then I think this play is a bad idea. Because one thing about this Denver defense, you see how they get up on the line of scrimmage. They had 9 men up there in the line of scrimmage, and they just swarmed the ball.
Elway drops, throws. Got Brian Chamberlain, the third of the Denver tight ends.
And he's the other pass receiving tight end. So with Shannon Sharp, you know that they took him into the locker room to adjust his tape job or to do another tape job on him. So they bring in Brian Chamberlain. And one thing about John Elway, he's never cared who he throws it to.
That's right.
He's never had one guy where he just watches that guy. He just goes back there, looks, and throws it to the guy who's open.
1st and 10, Broncos. McCaffrey in motion, and Elway gives to Davis. A yard maybe. William White came up from the safety spot to make the stop.
You know, watch Terrell Davis. When he runs inside like that, he has both hands over the ball. And when he runs to the left, he takes the ball and puts it in his left hand. When he runs to the right, he takes the ball and puts it in his right hand. When he runs up the middle, he just puts both hands over it like he just did there. Watch him as he comes in the middle. You see where he takes that ball right now? He has both hands over it. You see, he keeps both hands in the ball. When he goes to the right, he just keeps it in his right hand. To the left, just in his left hand.
2nd and 9, Elway. Pitch back to Davis. Cuts back. And Terrell Davis crosses midfield into Atlanta territory.
Yep, you see that one? It was a pitch, and he just took the pitch and put it in his right hand because he was going to the right side. They started in an empty backfield, and you see he's in the slot now. Now he comes back to a normal back position. Now he gets the ball. Now watch, he catches the ball, and because he's going to the right, he puts it in his right hand. And as he started to go to the middle, the minute he feels contact coming, though, he's going to put that other hand over it.
It's incredible, really, what he sees. He sees a lot of movement in front of him.
All great runners do.
He cuts back so well against the grain. Here's Elway dropping. Pass is caught by Chamberlain.
Yeah, they've always liked Brian Chamberlain as a receiver. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that just has a feel. He has real good hands. The Denver Broncos run this pattern as well as anyone, just someone across the field. It's not only a tight end on a cross, they'll run a flanker on a cross, they'll run a back on a cross, and they'll run a tight end on a cross. And then if you ever step up for the short cross, then they get in behind you. There's Shannon Sharp coming back in.
And limping. Here's Elway rolling out. In front of him is Griffith. He fires deep. Pass complete to Rod Smith. And that'll be another Bronco first down.
And watch Rod Smith. He's out here up on top, and he's gonna come in, and he's gonna go like he's going deep, and then he just gives a little left hand. You see that left hand? That's where you give a little push, and the push gives you a separation. Now John Elway, even though he doesn't run like he used to, can still move well enough to buy time to be able to throw that ball to Rod Smith.
Two tight ends set up again for Denver. Empty backfield, and Elway throws, knocked down.
He's trying to get to Byron Chamberlain again on that one.
Chuck Smith, Shannon Sharp is back, and our information is that they rewrapped that injured knee and put a sleeve over it.
And as we said, Byron Chamberlain has come in there for him and is taking his passes because Shannon Sharp was going to be a big part of this game plan. And he matches up very well with this Atlanta Falcon defense.
2nd and 10, McCaffrey again in motion. Elway Davis. And Davis hurdles down over the Falcon 15-yard line and gets a Denver first down.
Yeah, we talk about the thing that Terrell Davis has. He also has patience, and he says he has patience because he doesn't have a great deal of speed. And he's going to run a little delay here, a little draw play to the right side. But you see the patience to wait to let the blocking happen in front of him. Ray Buchanan finally got him down.
But did you see that hole?
Yeah, I mean that hole, even before his fullback, Howard Griffith gets there, he had a gigantic hole.
He really did.
That was a draw. You know, they invited the pass rush and got it.
Here's Davis again. Breaks away from one, breaks away from two, gets inside the 10 to the 8.
Oh, that first move was a great move. That was a spinner. Chuck Smith is there. Chuck Smith has him, and he gives him a spinner. Watch Chuck Smith here. Now watch as he goes to tackle. You see again on a draw. Now watch right there. Boom, he gets a spinner on him. He just comes around and spin, redirects himself, gets his shoulder square again, keeps those feet driving. What a back this guy is.
He gets a rest, does Terrell Davis. Derek Lavelle comes in.
And you see Eugene Robinson missed the tackle on that one, and Terrell Davis makes a lot of guys miss tackles.
Yes, he does. He deserves the rest. Here's Elway. A lot of time. That one is for the pregame show.
Yeah, he did. He threw that one. He knows that, you know, Chris Collinsworth is always talking about how good his hands are, and you know, well, you know, if I get out there on a sprint out and there's nothing else, I'll just throw it to Collinsworth, which is exactly what he did. But you know, John Elway was telling us the other day. He said I don't run like I used to.
No,
he said, but I make better decisions, and I think I'm throwing better than I ever have. When we went to practice on Wednesday, to me that was amazing. He threw the whole practice, and not one ball hit the ground. He was perfect.
Every pass was complete.
Ed McCaffrey has yet to catch a pass. Ray Buchanan has been on him man-to-man most of the game.
Elway throws low, incomplete. Pressure on from Atlanta.
Trying to go to Byron Chamberlain again. We talk about, you know, that's kind of the effect also of having Shannon Sharp out there. But, you know, the Atlanta Falcon defense and their pass defense, we're talking about Ray Buchanan is probably the best defensive back in this game. They decided to put him on Ed McCaffrey, and maybe that's the reason Ed McCaffrey hasn't caught any. I don't even know that John Elway is looking his way.
Jason Elam from 26 yards away will attempt to put the Broncos further ahead, and does. Right down the middle. Elam's kickoff sails to Tim Dwight. Almost broke the first one. This one up to the 26, where Atlanta will take over.
He almost got broken on that one.
Oh, Chandler drops. Outside man is open is Mathis.
She's amazing. That Ellie McBeal is utterly amazing.
Did she say Martin or Mathis?
It didn't make any difference.
Just
she just said throw, because they're playing off and they're ganging up on the run because they've been running every first down. They said, you know, just throw it on first down. And since Chris Chandler is really a good passer, I mean, he's really a good quarterback, and they haven't gotten him into the game yet. As I said, that right there was just the fourth pass that he's thrown all day.
1st and 10. You better go down, send somebody down for Alley at the half. He's got some pretty good ideas. Chandler again. Mathis again. Stayed on his feet. Taken down finally by Glenn Pedrez, but he was about to set sail.
And I think that the Atlanta Falcons have had enough. Remember the last time they had that, you know, third down, they didn't get it, short fourth down, they didn't get it. And here their line has to start. The first thing you have to do is you have to have good pass protection. You have to pick up the blitz. Jamal Anderson make a heck of a block on picking up that blitz there.
That was Romanowski he picked up.
Yep, and then Mathis runs a nice route out here on Ray Crockett. Again, they're selling you up. They're making them think they're going up, and then they're just breaking out short.
1st and 10 Atlanta. 10-3 Denver lead. Here's Chandler back in the pocket outside to Anderson. Jamal Anderson out of bounds at about the 11.
Yep, and that's the first time that they ran a play pass in this game, and that's what Chandler does so well. In fact, Jamal Anderson does that well too, where you fake the run. You fake the run, and then you throw the ball. Now watch this fake here. Watch Jamal Anderson here. Part of this is Chandler and the fake. part of it is Jamal Anderson. See how he puts his arms out there, and then he just carries out that thing. See, and then Chandler looks the other way, and Jamal Anderson keeps going like he's running. Then they say, oh, he doesn't have the ball, but they let him go as a pass receiver.
Second, about a yard. Anderson nudges left, and that last little lunge, I'm sure, got him enough for a first.
Now they brought Terrence Mathis in there, so they had their fullback, Brian Kozlowski, and Terrence Mathis. They bring their wide receivers, both of these teams do. They bring their wide receivers in, and they use them as blockers. Now here's Kozlowski. He's the fullback. He gets a lead block there. Pretty good. He gets a pretty good push in there for Anderson. And then just outside of him was number 81, Kevin Mathis, making a block. Terrence Mathis making a block.
First down, Atlanta. Anderson's the deep back. He gets the carry. Kozlowski in front of him. Anderson down to about the 8 or 9.
See, that's the same thing that Denver did earlier. You know, we talked about usually when the fullback lines up here, they're going to run to this side. So to counter it, you line your fullback up here, then you lead him over here. Then you start here. So they think that the lead is coming here, but you take a lead to the other side. You see Kozlowski's over there. Now instead of leading straight ahead, he leads back to his right, and he's darn near like a pulling guard. And Jamal Anderson just gets right in his back pocket.
And Kozlowski got a good block on Kudrez. Second down. They need 4. Anderson won't get it. He'll get half of it.
Well, you know, the last time they were down there, they had 3rd and 1, and they were stopped for no gain. Then they had 4th and 1, and they were stopped for no gain again.
Dan Reeves and Steve DeBerg, 45-year-old Steve DeBerg.
There's Greg Robinson. He's the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos.
Injured Bronco on the play.
Watch Jamal Anderson here. Here, Pat, watch his left knee. Hits Darian Gordon right in the head. Darian Gordon is going to tackle him low. And with Jamal Anderson, that is a mistake. He got the knee right in the head.
Torrey James has taken his place. Looked like he got him twice. Fake is to Anderson. Chandler's throw is over the head of Tim Dwight and out of the end zone. And now they'll take the 3.
Yeah, you know, and had they taken the other 3, and I mean, if they make this and they made the other one, it would be 10-9 instead of 10-6. But that was a good drive. I mean, they finally opened up a little offensively. Chris Chandler started throwing the ball. That loosened up the defense a little. Jamal Anderson running, and that was a good mixture drive.
Morton Anderson from 26 yards this time. They try to make it 10-6. I don't think he did make it 10-6.
He missed it.
He pulled it. Woo. Denver's first play after the missed field goal. Elway going deep, and he's got Rod Smith. And Smith's gone.
John Elway could play another 10 years. Rod Smith ran right by Eugene Robinson. That was a bootleg pass. We talked about the cross, and remember I said how they run those crosses on you? They run those crosses, then you jump up on those crosses, and they get that post in behind you.
Atlanta is not ready on defense.
And that's exactly what Rod Smith does. You see, he gets by Eugene Robinson. John Elway was running the bootleg. He was running to his right, and he threw a perfect strike to Rod Smith.
16-3, and how things can change and change so quickly.
As I said, Mike Shanahan's the most aggressive play caller in football, and he has a quarterback to go with him.
Elam for the extra point. 17-3. We almost didn't get back in time. Atlanta didn't get back in time.
They were getting set here, but you see, John Elway started. He had his backs going to the left, and then he rolled out to the right, which is the same side that Rod Smith is running that post to. That was a zone coverage. They had the corner up bumping. They had the safety, Eugene Robinson, coming deep, and Rod Smith ran right by him.
Denver 17-3, and Mike Shanahan knows he's gone.
But here's the bootleg. Now, you get the fake this way, and then John Elway comes out, and he runs to this point, and he's always been the best at this. You watch, they're going to fake the ball like they're coming to the left. You see the fake to the run to the left, and then he bootlegs out, sets, and throws a perfect strike to Rod Smith. I tell you, that really got that defense going because, you know, part of that is Terrell Davis. You know that everyone's worried about Terrell Davis, so they send him to the left. That brings up the linebacker. The short cross brings up the other guys. Then you get Rod Smith man-on-man deep on the safety, Eugene Robinson.
And all of a sudden, Atlanta comes out on the short end of a 17-3 score, and here comes Tim Dwight. Dwight with the kickoff comes out of the pack, and Tim Dwight chased out of bounds as he crosses into Denver territory.
Curry James makes a play there because if he doesn't make a play, that's a touchdown. Now here's the wedge. You see these four guys here? They're going to come together right here, hold hands, form a wedge. Now Tim Dwight wants to get right up in behind him. You see, he runs right up to his wedge, splits the wedge perfectly, and runs right through it. And we said this before, Tim Dwight is a reckless guy, but he's not only reckless, he's fast reckless. He's the fastest guy in this Atlanta Falcon team.
And if Torrey James doesn't get there, he's gone. 1st and 10 for Atlanta at the Denver 49, and Chandler now almost has to throw it, and incomplete. Right now, let's quickly go down to sideline Bill Moss.
Hey, Pat. Hey, John. You'd think after a touchdown like that the defensive guys would be going over congratulating the offensive guys. It was the other way around. The offensive guys came off the field, went to the defensive guys. We got you the points. Now put them away. And they like to do that when they have points at their back. Back up to you.
That's a good idea.
Well, it is. I think that's the thing that, you know, any defense likes to play downhill. You know, you don't like to play uphill where they can do anything, control of that. You know, you like to play from being ahead, then you can really let things go and be aggressive.
2nd and 10, they're looking like they're going to blitz. But they don't. Martin makes the catch.
Yeah, it was interesting before the game, Al Davis came in here and he was saying, you know, this guy right here, Tony Martin, is a good receiver. He said that he may have a big game, and he was talking about that move right there. That's exactly what he's talking about. He says he has this move where he comes in, and he looks like he's going inside, and then you get your corner up, and then he goes back out. That's the exact move that he was talking about. And he said Tony Martin does that as well as anyone.
And he dragged that right foot, just got the toe down to stay in bounds. Chandler drops again. Now he has to come out of the pocket, and now he's going to take off. Chandler. Fumble, but they say he was down. He was down. Bernie Kukar right on the spot. Motioned him down.
Yeah, but it's going to be enough for a first down.
Pretty close. That's
Bobby Toback, that's their center.
Yep. And he's the guy who does all the play calling for the blocking assignments.
Well, yeah, you know, you call a play, you don't know how the defense is going to line up, so the center has to make the line adjustments on the line. And you're gonna see Robbie Toback is number 61 right there. He's just his own guy. What happens is Gene Williams is down there in the bottom, and he just goes right over his right guard, Gene Williams. You know, their backup center, Dave Waddell,
is not active.
Today. That's always a gamble. You know, when you activate a team, you decide who's going to be active and who's not active. You take a gamble to go a guy short, and then you hope that something like this doesn't happen to the guy you went short with.
His place has been taken by Adam Schreiber, who has played 15 years.
Yeah, Adam Schreiber is just an old special teams center. I mean, well, old too. Yeah, 15 years. But he's not really a center. I mean, what he is he's a snapper. He's a long snapper.
There's a guy who won't be back. Shannon Sharp. He caught the one pass, set up the first Denver touchdown.
So much of the game plan was going to evolve or revolve around Shannon Sharp.
1st and 10 Atlanta. Fake is to Jamal Anderson. They drop it out to Kozlowski, and Kozlowski's down at about the 10.
See, this is the thing that they do so well, you know, that the Atlanta Falcons do so well, is that play pass. And that's why it's important that they continue to run. Even though they're down 17-3, they still run, because not only will run and give them some time of possession, keep the Bronco offense off the field, but it'll set up these play passes that they run so effectively.
2nd and 4. And now Chandler comes back in the shotgun. 4 wide receiver setup for Atlanta. Chandler retreats. Halftime goes corner. Incomplete. Broken up right at the last second. Intended for Harris. Hit by Torrey James, who replaced the injured punt returner.
And this is good coverage here.
Yep.
You're going to see Torrey James is just up there, and he gets his hand on that right hand on there. Now he turns and looks, and that ball stayed in the air a little too long, because that was a heck of a defensive play, but that ball was really thrown behind him.
It'll bring up another 3rd down situation. Atlanta's 1 out of 5 in situations like this. Shotgun formation. Chandler retreats. Halftime goes deep. Batted away. Intended for Martin. Hit by Gordon, who's come back into the contest.
And here's Gordon right there, and Martin. In fact, they both played together with the San Diego Chargers. Martin is trying to push off a little, and had that ball been thrown a little higher, so he's a little too close to the sideline here. Had he given him room to the outside here, Chris Chandler could have thrown that ball up over his head, but he kind of pins himself into that sideline, and there's no place for Chris Chandler to throw the ball.
Morton Anderson missed from 26, made from 32. We'll try field goal number 3 today. This one's good. From 28, Anderson makes it 17-6.
But there's a bad sight there. Robbie Tobeck, the center. When they get on that cart, good things don't happen after you get on the cart.
You usually don't get off by yourself. Wydell is inactive, and that was Dave Wydell who just came over and said something to Robbie Tobeck. Anderson set to kick it off. Vaughn Hebron back deep for Denver. Anderson's short kick. Hebron's going to handle it about the 12. To the 27. And Denver takes over there. 2:15 left to play in the first half. Here comes Tobeck. There's Shannon Sharp with a much disgusted look on his face. Here's the injury right there.
That was Ray Buchanan came in, you know, from the other side and got Shannon Sharp right on that left knee. This was a lot like 2 weeks ago when, remember, Atlanta was down to Minnesota.
McCaffrey was the man in motion. Handoff is to Davis, and Davis breaks out of the pack. Picks up about more than enough for a first down, about 15 yards, really. A huge hole again.
Yeah, well, he gets in there behind Dan Neal and Harry Swain over there on that right side.
Davis circling behind Elway back, and he cuts back and is stopped behind empty backfield situation. Elway up the middle, pass caught. Byron Chamberlain.
Like we said, we knew that Shannon Sharp was going to have a big day and was a big part of this offense. He gets injured, so Byron Chamberlain comes in, and he's the guy. And as I said earlier, John Elway doesn't care. I mean, whoever it is, he's just gonna go after him. Ed McCaffrey hasn't caught a pass yet. And you see why? You see what happened there? He was coming on across. He didn't see number 97, Cornelius Bennett. An old biscuit put him right on his back.
Chamberlain replacing Sharp. This is a Denver timeout.
You know, that's what Denver does to you. As they run those crosses, they run them in layers. So if you come up, they throw it to the second layer. If you come way up, then they throw it deep like they did to Rod Smith. If you drop off, then they throw it to the short guy like Chamberlain. And then you have the sacrificial lamb, who in that last case was Ed McCaffrey.
And that explained well why McCaffrey hasn't caught any passes.
And why he got up looking at his ear hole.
Yeah. This guy sees a lot. Here comes the reverse. That's Rod Smith, and he's chased out of bounds. Played well by Atlanta.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier how Mike Shanahan, you know, right after he sees a play, he goes to that next play. He has that board down there. He's already called the next play. Now he's going to watch and see what they do on second down and get ready to call third down. But, you know, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, he's ahead 17-6. He is pulling everything out in this game, and there's no way that he is going to become conservative.
He is that attacking mentality. Don't let them dictate to us what we do. We'll do the dictating. Here's Elway. Back to throw. Has time. The pass comes out. And had not Rod Smith slipped down, he was gone for enough for a first. And a timeout taken by Denver. That's all they have.
And see what he'll want to do now is he has two things. The first thing he wants to do, because he has third down here, he wants to get a first down and wants to get in field goal range. So you're not going here. You're about the 36-yard line. You don't go for the end zone. It's a big play for Atlanta defense.
They haven't been able to stop him yet. Elway going deep. A flag on the play. Griffith stretched just over his fingertips. A flag on the play. I think they're going to get him for roughing the passer.
He was coming at it. He just kind of put him down. I was watching Archambault, and he got close, and you could just see him jerk down out of the picture.
Flag on the play. Bernie Kukar will call it.
Yeah, it'll be holding against Neal.
If it is, it'll take him out of even Jason Elam's range for a field goal attempt.
Holding. 62 offense.
62.
It's a 10-yard penalty. Still third down.
As John Madden said, still third down. Dan Neal guilty of holding.
Yeah, you're going to see Dan Neal. He's the right guard here. And you see, here comes Lester Archambault. And you see him, he put his left hand under his neck and pushed him with his right hand. And the referee, Bernie Kukar, was right there. And he just threw the flag right at both of them.
3rd and 14, and all of a sudden.
Jailbreak.
Yep. Atlanta's defense wasn't ready again.
No, they had the old 15-man defense.
And they called the timeout, this one.
And if you can't play in this league or in this game, you can't play the old 5-5-5.
That's how they got burned on the long touchdown pass from Elway to Rod Smith. They weren't ready on the defensive side of the ball. And again, this time they called the timeout because of that. Rich Brooks runs the Atlanta defense.
You know, whenever you put a fullback like Howard Griffith downfield, you're going to get a linebacker having to cover him, and that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
You know, you're looking for where you can get your back on their linebacker and get him deep.
That was Henri Crockett back there with Griffith.
And he ran pretty well with Griffith.
Yes, he did.
But that's a matchup. I mean, that's been something in the NFL that we've always looked for. You know, try and get a back on a linebacker, but get him spread out and get him deep. And Crockett did a good job of that coverage. Of course, it wouldn't have counted anyway. Even if he caught the ball, Dan Neal was still caught holding.
Cornelius Bennett, the other outside linebacker on the other side. He's already said if Atlanta should win, he's going to call his old Buffalo teammates. Here's
Davis, the back area.
Earl Davis swings down to about the 45.
And I think that was big for the Atlanta Falcon defense to stop him on this drive down 17-6, not let them get in here before halftime. And now whatever Atlanta does from here on, I still think that they are going to end this half on a pretty good note.
This is an Atlanta timeout. They have one left. Denver has used all of theirs.
And now, Denver goes in, and Mike Shanahan, we know how he scripts the first 15 plays. Now he goes in and he scripts the first 8 for the second half.
Very organized gentleman. In fact, they say he even scripts a family vacation.
Well, and he scripts what he's going to say to the team. He scripts what last night. In fact, he took in the meeting, and he showed him a highlight film that he had made to music of this year, just to remind him how good everything was, and last year's Super Bowl and the parade and the parties and all that stuff, to show them the reward they get for winning.
Bruin. It comes to Tim White, who signaled fair catch right at the 10-yard line.
Remember what happened to Minnesota?
Yep. The one thing you don't want is a turnover or a safety, and they almost had one.
I know it, or you get your quarterback back in that end zone, and a penalty in the end zone is also a safety. I'm surprised that they're doing this, and again, it's just a 4-man rush, and what the Broncos are doing is they're stunning. They beat the right side of the Falcon offensive line. Watch him. Here comes a stunt right here.
Trevor Price.
Right, Trevor Price gets in there, and he just makes Chris Chandler throw that one away. Why they're doing this, I have no idea. This is the time that you just run the clock out, get out of here, and prepare for the second half.
Back in the shotgun again, however. They're showing almost a safety blitz. This is Jamal Anderson. Tripped up and gets to the 11. Atwater finally wrestles him down.
I think if this were different, where you were out here in midfield and you had some room to work, but when you have 90 yards to go, I think you just kind of say, let's just kind of cool it and take it to the house here and talk about it. What they're going to do.
They got a timeout left, but they're going to let it run out. No more timeouts.
In last year's Super Bowl, Ed McCaffrey didn't catch a ball in the first half of that game either.
Back at the goal line, it's Von Hebron. And Hebron gets it out to about the 25. A look at the book on Terrell Davis, left, middle, and right.
Well, we talked about how he runs in the middle, he keeps both hands over the ball, runs to the left, puts it in his left hand. And you can see when he's run to the left, he's gained 9 yards, 17 yards up the middle, and 39 yards. That's where he's had the most success. He's also run it the most time, 5 times to the right with 39 yards.
But wherever the hole might be, if it's there, he'll take it. If it's not, he can still cut it back and get something somewhere else.
It just seems like to me over the years he's more successful running left.
Elway, McCaffrey, and that's his first.
Yep, and that's just what Mike Shanahan was talking about. He says, well, the game isn't over yet. And I think Mike Shanahan knew that Ed McCaffrey hadn't caught a ball yet. So we said that he scripts he scripts the first 8 plays in the second half. Here we had a good play fake. Ed McCaffrey is out here. You see, he's going to run an out on Ray Buchanan. He gets Buchanan turned. He pushes off with his right hand, then his left hand. That's one way to run it out. Ray Buchanan has done a good job on it, too.
There's Elway back to throw it again. As time gets it up the middle to Terrell Davis. He sneaked out of the backfield and got 9.
That's the thing we talk about, layers of crosses. He was trying to get it to McCaffrey, and you're going to see that Terrell Davis is underneath. But the big thing here is watch John Elway in the time that he has. There's no pass rush here. So he can wait and look and look. He's looking for McCaffrey, and then he throws it to Terrell Davis, who almost lost the ball before he got both hands on it.
And after he gathered back up, he lunged forward for a first down. The first and 10 at the Atlanta 45. Davis again. Not much this time.
You know what Terrell Davis was in high school, his position?
I remember.
Yeah, he was a nose tackle.
Nose tackle, yeah.
He's out of San Diego. In fact, Leroy Glover, who's a nose tackle for the New Orleans Saints, said that he was a nose tackle, and he played against Terrell Davis as a nose tackle. And Leroy Glover says that he was a better nose tackle than Terrell Davis. I said, well, I'd hope so. What coach would put Terrell Davis at nose tackle?
Well, they didn't find him at Georgia, really. That is Howard Griffith who gets the pass from Elway. Elway looks very sharp. He might be going to retire, and this might be it for him. I don't know.
Well,
but he looks very sharp.
You wonder why he's going to retire. I mean, part of you said he ought to retire because he's been doing this for 16 years, but then you say, how many guys do it better than him? And here he has Howard Griffith just coming out here to the outside. He's used Griffith real well
yes,
today.
Yes,
we've seen him block. We've seen him run for a touchdown. We've seen him catch the play pass. We saw him go deep, remember?
Almost on that one. 3rd and 1. Griffith, more than one. First down, Denver.
This is probably the most that Griffith has had the ball in a long time. I mean, he's really on this team. He's just a blocker and a very good blocker. And then the second thing he would probably be is a pass catcher. And then the third thing would be a runner. And they've been slipping the ball to him a few times. And again, that's all because of Terrell Davis. I mean, the Falcons are keying on Terrell Davis, and then you counter with Howard Griffith.
You have to be impressed with the defending world champions. Davis this time. A yard or two. This, I get the impression, John, is a very, very important defensive series for Atlanta. If they can't stop him here, this thing might get out of hand.
Yeah, I don't know that it'll get out of hand because Denver's defense is very vulnerable. But the thing that impresses me is this Denver offensive line now and how well they're working together. And you can see, you know, the holes that they've given Terrell Davis and the push that they're getting on that hole. On that last play, Mark Schlereth just made a big hole on that left side.
McCaffrey moves in motion. Buchanan goes with him. And Elway drops. Pass is deflected by Travis Hall.
That's one thing that the Falcons thought that they were going to be able to do is deflect a lot of this. Here's Travis Hall here, who I think is the best defensive lineman on this team. He's really impressive. I mean, as a run player and as a pass player, there, if you can't get to the quarterback, then you try and take away the lane with your hand. And that's exactly what Travis Hall does. You see, he couldn't get to John Elway, but that passing lane that Elway had, Travis Hall could stick his hand in that passing lane.
That hit him on the arm. He occupied 2 blockers. Here's Elway. Up the middle to Ed McCaffrey. And McCaffrey dives, makes the catch, and they move those sticks again.
Well, you know, they're so tough. I mean, they give you Terrell Davis, and then this is an empty backfield formation. So they have 5 receivers. And then they just start running, and they just, you know, run. I mean, they got ins, they got outs, they got crosses, they got patterns of crosses. You watch, this guy's been doing this 16 years, and just watch him concentrate here. I mean, watch him look, feel, and when he does see the guy, a dart comes out of that right arm.
Sling it. Davis has some room around the corner, and a flag on the play.
Holding, 89 offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
89 is Dwayne Carswell. Shannon Sharp, in the event you might have missed it, is out for the rest of the game.
And here's Dwayne Carswell right there. Hasn't held yet. I don't see what he's doing.
I thought he did pretty well.
Holding or blocking?
No, blocking.
I did too. Maybe the officials on it said that block was so good he had to be holding.
At the 27. Here's Elway coming out of the pocket. Chased and dragged down. Good play by Cornelius Bennett.
Yeah, that's one of the things the Falcons had to talk about halftime is that bootleg, because remember the last time John Elway ran a bootleg where, you know, he takes Terrell Davis, fakes him to the left, he goes out to the right. It was a touchdown to Rod Smith. This time he's going to fake to the left, and then he's going to roll out here to the right. See him fake here, and now right here Cornelius Bennett says, you got me on that in the first half. We talked about it at halftime. You're not getting it again. That'll stop the coach from calling that one too.
Yeah. 2nd and 21. Elway gets to Davis. And Davis is down after he got a couple. 3rd and long. Coming up.
Well, they finally got that thing plugged up. Remember in the first half how big those holes were over in there on that side?
Yeah.
They were running a delay or a draw. Here, there's a bad handoff here. Terrell Davis ran right into John Elway. But you see, instead of coming up the field on that one, the Falcon defense just stayed on the line of scrimmage.
Lester Archambault, who had a bad ankle, just limped off. He had a high ankle sprain.
And a bad thumb. You see that? He has a cast on his left hand.
Burrow has taken his place as the clock was down to 1 second when they got rid of it. And they won't get the first down, but they get to the 20. That's Rod Smith's fifth catch of the day.
You know, whatever that mechanism is in your brain that goes to your arm, you know, see something and then throw the ball, John Elway has the quickest.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of guys can see it, but they can't do a lot about it. But I mean, he can see it and poof, do something about it that quick.
Whatever it is, he's had it for a long time.
Yeah, because I mean, 16 years in this league. Before that, you know, 4 years at Stanford,
right.
4 years at high school. He's been playing this game for a long time.
And a lot of baseball in there too. And the field goal is no good. Elam. Jason Elam is wide. The old blue moon.
Yep, and so whatever happens in this game, we can say it's going to happen once in a blue moon. The Atlanta
We certainly
Falcons
can.
win.
That goes back 150 years, that reference to the old blue moon.
Once in a blue moon.
Chandler, play pass. Man open is Tony Martin.
His pass is complete to number 8.
Yeah, that's the thing that we were talking about just before the half here. To go to the play pass, you'll get a good fake. Now watch how this starts. It's I formation, and you're saying we got a key on number 32, Jamal Anderson. See, so now they see how that holds that whole defense there. And now when you come out of that, then you have something like this in the other end because there's no underneath coverage at all. You see Romanowski was supposed to be the underneath guy, but he was held by the play fake.
Couldn't get there. First down, Atlanta at their own 47. Jamal Anderson moves in motion. Chandler drops the throw. Chandler is going to take off. And Chandler scrambles for a first down to about the 41.
You know, it's interesting. Kozlowski finally saw him, and he made a block that could have been a bigger run for Chandler. That's Eugene Robinson there. He dislocated his finger. They're just popping it back in, and then they'll tape it. But watch Chandler here. He finds this hole. Now, Brian Kozlowski, his fullback, is right out here. Had he made the block there before, he finally picks off that guy. But if he picked him off before, yeah, he could have made at least 10 more yards on that play.
First and 10. Anderson deep. Broncos showing blitz. They came clean. Too many. They didn't have enough to block it.
Yep, John Mobley was the first guy that got there, I think, but that was kind of a jailbreak on that side. And remember early when they started to do this, and we're going to see it come from this side here. In the first half, they had success with that too. And you see Mobley, he gets blocked, then he gets pushed by Jamal Anderson. That was terrible by Jamal Anderson. It was also terrible by Brian Kozlowski. He misses it, and then Jamal Anderson pushes him right into Chandler. What the heck was that?
And Steve Atwater from his safety spot came up and blitzed also and got close. Harold Green is in the backfield. Chandler just has time, and the pass is picked off. Darius Johnson for Denver. And Atlanta turns it over.
Darius Johnson is a nickel back for the Denver Broncos.
5:53 left in the third quarter of Super Bowl number 33. Pat Summerall with John Madden. Denver, after the interception, has first and 10 at the Atlanta 42.
41-yard line, Atlanta.
Davis breaks from a tackle behind the line of scrimmage and almost broke it all the way. He did get enough for a first down. Eugene Robinson made the saving stop.
And that was Jesse Tuggle that missed. Number 58, the middle linebacker. Watch him now. Now he reads it, and he sees what's happening, and he just gets in there. He penetrates. He does everything perfectly except make the tackle.
Yep.
But a lot of that is Terrell Davis. I mean, you know, Jesse Tuggle is a good middle linebacker. Jesse Tuggle is a good tackler. Terrell Davis makes you do those kind of things.
Derek Lavelle has replaced Davis. He gets the carry. And he gets across the 30, about the 29. Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, closest to us, and of course, familiar gentleman next to him, former President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, and it was nice to meet President Carter. He came up to the booth and said hello, and brought up by Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, and of course he's here rooting for these Atlanta Falcons, and as the whole state of Georgia is.
Here's Elway, ready to throw and batted down. Intended for Rod Smith, hit by Eugene Robinson.
Yeah, I was out here the other day. In fact, you were out here, and David Wells was out here, and you know, talking about baseball and the great year that the New York Yankees had, and that play, that pass that John Elway threw there just looked like one of David Wells' fastballs, didn't it?
Just with the other hand.
Yeah, when it hit Rod Smith, it sounded like one of David Wells' fastballs.
Well, Davis maybe a cramp. 80 yards he's picked up on 17 carries, 3rd and 8.
It is a cramp, you know, because they dehydrate a little. Both teams were complaining about how warm it is here and having problems cramping up.
Elway drops. Elway had to step up, and he's going to come out of there, and finally he drops it out to McCaffrey. And McCaffrey, maybe he should have caught it, maybe he should.
Well, they should have caught it, because that was Elway. It was either he was going to take the hit or McCaffrey was going to take the hit, because McCaffrey started out as a blocker for Elway. Then Elway started to scramble, and now McCaffrey's trying to get his head on straight, because they were either going to hit Elway if he held the ball, or they were going to unload on McCaffrey if he gave it to McCaffrey. So he told old Easy Ed, here, Ed, you take this one.
And here's Jason Elam again, this time from 48 yards. It's enough distance, and it's wide again. Far enough, but no good, and it remains 17-6. Jamal Anderson runs over one of the Broncos and out of bounds after he crosses midfield. Ray Crockett.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Jamal Anderson does well. He gets to the outside and then runs with power. A lot of guys will just get knocked out of bounds, but he gets here, plants a foot. You're going to see him plant that left leg right there. And instead of going out of bounds, he turns upfield and back in a little.
Yep.
And he is one of the best at that in the game, of going and taking his power to the outside and then just inside the sideline, turning it up.
1st and 10. Fake to Anderson. Throw to Terrence Mathis, out of bounds, another Atlanta 1st down. Ray Crockett again knocked him out of bounds.
Yeah, Atlanta, the Denver Broncos, by missing field goals and things, I mean, Atlanta's had all kinds of opportunities.
They really have.
And they just hang in there like they're like an old bologna sandwich or something. You know, you let it sit around there, you get hungry enough, and pretty soon you eat it. And that's what Atlanta's doing. I mean, you let them sit around there, you let them sit around there, and they're going to start looking pretty good.
How many old bologna sandwiches have you eaten?
A lot of old bologna sandwiches when I was hungry. They were sitting around. I guarantee I'd eat them. Eat an old stuffed sandwich sitting around.
Straight ahead is Anderson. Spins away from one blocker, one tackler, and gets all the way down to the 21-yard line.
You know, and that's the other thing. You know, we saw Jamal Anderson go to the outside and run with power, and the other thing that he does is spin, and the third thing that he does, he has a great straight arm. You watch this spin here. You see it's a little delay. He gets in behind his lineman right there. Tackler comes up with Steve Atwater comes up to tackle him. He just gives him that spin move, and then at the end, just get those shoulder pads down and finish it off.
17-6, 2 minutes to go in the 3rd. Atlanta threatening again. Chandler has it deflected and intercepted. That's Gordon. We've got Chandler to beat, and Chandler kept him from going all the way. Keith Turner deflected the pass. They threaten.
Yep. And then
something happens.
Something like this happens. You're going to see Keith Traylor come up here.
Yep.
And you see, we talked about if you don't get to the guy, then get your hands up and make him throw over you or through you. Keith Traylor did exactly that.
Yep.
He not only got one hand up in the lane, he got both hands up. Both hands up, then the ball goes off, and now Darian Gordon picks it off. But that one, Darian Gordon gets the interception, but you have to give that to Keith Traylor.
You certainly do, and you give credit, I suppose, to the quarterback, Chris Chandler, who made an open field tackle that he doesn't have to make much.
Keith Traylor's alone.
Davis. Shane Barnett made the stop. Look at this.
Well, they've had the opportunities. I mean, you know, they were down in the Denver 8, the 26, the 8, 11, 41, and 21. And look at that. Out of all that, they just came out with 2 field goals. And that's the whole thing. It's not like they haven't moved the ball, nor have they not had any opportunities. They've moved it and had opportunities, but didn't do anything with the opportunity.
It's that red zone. They haven't been able to capitalize. McCaffrey in motion. Elway drops. Plenty of time. Elway. It was on the ground and incomplete. It did hit the ground. McCaffrey grabbed it quickly.
And that was Ed McCaffrey all the way. He started on the right, came in motion, ran a post pattern. John Elway was looking at him. He sees this, that's a post pattern. He throws it in there, and you're going to see right there that it pops out just before we go away from that. John Elway knew it. He was waiting for that one. You know, you have your red zone offense, and you have about 10 passes you're going to throw, and then you rate those 10, and that was probably like number 2.
3rd and 6. Has time again. Gets it to McCaffrey. To the 5. Jesse Tuggle tripped him up.
Look at this. The first 4 Super Bowls that John Elway, his quarterback rating was 49, and look what it is tonight.
He's going to retire?
Yeah, but he's going to, I mean, he finds Ed McCaffrey here, and Ed McCaffrey, is so good. I mean, John Elway's just watching him the whole way, but for a guy like John Elway to have a receiver like McCaffrey, he's as tall as a tight end, so you can always see him as he's going across the field.
1st and goal at the 5. Howard Griffith, the fullback. You're right. He's got a lot of work.
Yeah, we were talking about things that the Denver Broncos had to do at halftime, and one was to start throwing to Ed McCaffrey. Well, he's already caught 4 for 47 yards, all in this 3rd quarter.
A quarter to go. Super Bowl 33, Denver 17, Atlanta 6. And Denver at the Atlanta 1. Start of the 4th quarter.
We were talking about Howard Griffith, and now they're kind of sliding him the ball tonight. In 18 games this year, including the playoffs, he'd only carried the ball 4 times. He's already carried it 3 times tonight.
They let him again.
And there's 4. So in this game, he's equaled what he's done the whole season.
And he just scored a touchdown.
His 2nd touchdown.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Howard Griffith is going to get something. It's kind of reward for being a good player, being an unselfish player, being a team player, being a good blocker for Terrell Davis. Howard Griffith is having his night.
Remember, he was a great player. They got him from Carolina. He was a very, very good player there, and he's continued with Denver.
Yeah, see, the thing is on that is they had Terrell Davis going the other way, and they're still keying Terrell Davis.
They should.
So Terrell Davis goes one way, and then they just hand the ball to Howard Griffith.
23-6. Cornelius Bennett last to get up.
And I think this is a cramping situation too. Now watch this. Here's Terrell Davis. You see everyone's keying on him. Terrell Davis goes out to the right, and then Howard Griffith just comes right back to the left. And that's pretty good blocking too.
It is.
I mean, watch this side of the line and watch how they get low and they just drive, and that's a pretty good hole. And then they leave one guy for Howard Griffith to run over.
And he took care of that. That's Griffith's 2nd career game in which he scored 2 touchdowns before tonight. Howard Griffith, 4 carries, 9 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not bad.
You know, it's kind of like I said, it's a reward for a guy that, you know, has played unselfishly for a lot of years. You know, looking at John Elway there, it was interesting. We talked to him yesterday. He woke up Saturday morning yesterday and thought it was game day. And he started to get ready for the Super Bowl on Saturday morning. And so he's getting ready. And then he realized, holy moly, there's still another day before this game.
He had the wrong game on his watch, wrong day on his watch.
The other thing is on the touchdown, one of the officials has to see the football, and all to be a touchdown, the football has to break the plane of the goal line.
Extra point good. Pat Bowen, the owner of the Broncos, and he had his head in his hands just a minute ago, unlike a team that is owned by him that leads 24-6.
Yeah, but I know what that means. I mean, you have the lead, everything's going well, and you only have 1 quarter between you and a repeat.
Ken Dwight to the 30. Chandler drops. A blitz by Denver. Santiago, I believe, made the catch. And did.
If Santiago makes that catch, that's going to be the first ball that he's caught today.
Yep.
You talk about things that they haven't done. That's one of the things they haven't done is gone to the tight end, O.J. Santiago.
They really have had trouble. Excuse me, John. But they really have had trouble blocking the Denver blitz too.
Yeah, and it's really disrupted them. I mean, I think when the Denver started to blitz, I think that threw Chris Chandler out of any rhythm that he did have.
They're showing blitz again. Jamal Anderson. First down, Atlanta, down to the 43-yard line of Denver.
He got a good block by his fullback, Brian Kozlowski, on that one. Kozlowski led him, and he goes out there. Just before he gets there, he's going to make a cut block. You're going to see it right there.
Yep.
You see, and then Jamal Anderson is right behind him. He's able to run off that block. Now watch again. As he gets out there, he plants that outside foot, and then gets low, and then he brings his power. Jamal Anderson is excellent at finishing off runs.
First down, Falcons. 17 carries, 94 yards for Jamal Anderson. Pass fake. Pass caught. Inbounds by Tony Martin. Another first down. Here we are again.
And the Falcons are doing all the things that they have to, except they're not getting the ball in the end zone. I mean, they're running the ball. Jamal Anderson's going to have over 100 yards. You see Tony Martin is coming off a play fake, running good patterns. Watch him, he's wide open. I mean, it's a perfect throw out there. Watch, he breaks, he turns his head, and the ball is right there. But they can't put it back to back consistently and get it in the end zone.
First and 10, Atlanta. They haven't scored a touchdown yet. Fake to Anderson. The throw. Picked off by Denver. By Gordon again. Darian Gordon. Still being conveyed. Gets it back across midfield. Back into Atlanta territory.
That was interesting. We were talking about Darian Gordon, who was a teammate of Tony Martin. They both played with the San Diego Chargers. That ball was thrown to Tony Martin. Darian Gordon was covering him.
John Elway, who's had a spectacular night, runs the offense. Drops to throw it. Gets it out to Terrell Davis. Davis down the sideline. Finally knocked out of bounds.
Yeah, that's the thing with having so many great players like Terrell Davis.
So many weapons.
That he can be your dump off. I mean, he has guys running out from patterns. He has Rod Smith on one side. He has Ed McCaffrey, and then he has this guy who's his check down. Watch, he fakes to him on the play pass, and he just goes and stops. John Elway's in trouble. He needs someone to throw to, and that's not bad when you need someone to throw to, and you look out there and you see number 30 in a white jersey. Look at this. You see, he gets away from that rush there, and he looks, he sees a friend.
Lavelle replaced Davis, and he hammers down inside the 5, about the 2,
Boy,
2.5.
They got him going now. And Tony Jones, the left tackle, and Mark Schlereth, the left guard, have been doing an outstanding job all day. Isn't Schlereth something? No.
Yep.
He's had 22 operations already.
And going to have another one.
He's going to have 23, and he has to have it on his elbow. And he was saying, well, it may be more than that because I haven't finished playing this game yet. But, I mean, he is so strong. And Mark Schlereth is one of those guys who has great big arms and shoulders and very, very strong hands. And when he gets his hands on you, you are blocked.
Elway calls timeout. Heads for the sideline, and Denver about to put it away if they get in this time. 24-6. Second goal with the 3. Elway, quarterback draw, close, touchdown.
16 years, if it's your last game, you might as well get one that way too, huh?
Why not?
That's all he has to do is get that ball across the lane. I tell you, this team loves John Elway. John Elway loves this team. The state of Colorado, Denver, they all love John Elway, and he loves them. But this is fun now. And getting here is fun. Getting here is fun. Getting in this situation is fun. And then just going and doing things like this is even more fun.
You watch him and how happy he is. You saw that big smile. You wonder why he would retire. But there's also such a thing as going out on top.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's very few guys that can play this game at quarterback the way it has to be, and John Elway's one of the few.
Good assist from Nalen, center.
Well, that whole group of 5 really works well together.
Here comes Tim Dwight again. Yeah, he's got some room to go.
He's gone.
They're not going to catch him. Tim Dwight gone. Backs it in, and Atlanta finally scores a touchdown. 94 yards by Tim Dwight. He came close 2 or 3 other times. 31-12.
That was the life that they needed.
They needed it quickly, and they got it quickly.
And that's the speed. And again, you watch the wedge here. They're holding hands. Now Tim Dwight has to get right into that wedge. See, he starts up left, then he finds his wedge, then he breaks away from it, makes a great move right there. And at this point, when he gets by Jason Elam, it is just speed.
Yep.
In fact, Tim Dwight is a track man. He's going back to Iowa. I mean, he's playing pro football now. He's going to go back to Iowa in his senior year next year and run track. So he's going from the Super Bowl team to the college track team.
I was just going to ask you about going for 2, but forget the asking. Extra points good. 31-13.
A brawl down there. There's a big fight down there. That's the second one. You know, down here in the other one, Atlanta gets to kick off here from the 45. And you're going to see the play right here. I thought it was Neil Smith. You see, he's going to get up right there. You see Neil Smith. He's on his back.
Yeah.
But anyway, this could be an onside.
Looks like it's going to be.
Yeah, but Denver's in an onside prevent.
It is an onside. And Denver's got the ball. They played it well.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad time because you had the 15-yard penalty. It wouldn't be a bad time if Denver hadn't gotten in an onside prevent. But because Denver was waiting for the onside kick, I think sometimes if you elect to kick it deep, that's not a bad play on this situation.
Byron Chamberlain fielded it for the Broncos, and they'll get the ball at the 45.
You know, we talked all day about the opportunities that the Atlanta Falcons have had.
Yeah. First and 10, Denver. Terrell Davis. Midfield. 4, maybe. Denver's turnover ratio in postseason, and usually in these games when you get down to the postseason, it's the turnover ratio that turns things one way or the other. And Denver's plus 11. That'll usually get you into the finals.
That'll always get you. I mean, if there's one statistic, you know, that is the most leading, it's turnovers or lack of turnovers or turnover ratio, and then what you do with the turnover.
Second and 6, it's Davis again. Not much this time. And watch him guard that ball because Atlanta is very good at stripping it away.
And I think that Mike Shanahan is trying to slow this game down now. He's trying to just keep the ball, get some first downs. That's what he's thinking, and get this game over with and not give the Falcons any more opportunities.
Elway got a man open, and he's got the first down. And Ed McCaffrey fights past the first tackler and gets it down to about the 22-yard line.
Well, didn't Mike Shanahan say at halftime to Ron Pitts, he said, don't worry about that, we'll take care of Ed McCaffrey in the second half. But the big thing is pass protection. We talk about the job that this offensive line has done run-wise, but they've also done a great job of pass protection. To get inside like this. Ed McCaffrey is so big and strong, he just threw Ray Buchanan right off him twice.
And then got away from him when he tried to tackle him. First down.
One thing, it's a secret, but I'll tell you, in Super Bowls, they don't call as many penalties like they do in the regular season. I said that low, so no one heard it.
Good. I heard it. Davis, left side.
Getting back.
Let them play is what.
Well,
you
that's what they do, and and that's what they want the game, the world champion, to be crowned by the best team by going out there and winning the game, not by some official's call. And as you said earlier, these officials, I think today or tonight or whenever it is, have done a good job of officiating this game and staying out of the way.
And it's an all-star crew, John. It's the guys who did the best job officiating wise at their position, whether it be referee or line judge or umpire or whatever.
Well, they look like they're doing a pretty good job tonight.
Yep. Griffith was the move man. That's Davis. Hit at the line of scrimmage. It'll bring up third down.
He's really something, Terrell Davis.
Yep,
He really is. And you wonder how he got drafted in the 6th round.
Yep.
Well, what happened is he went to Long Beach State, and he was playing there. Then they dropped football. So then he goes to Georgia, and he's playing behind Garrison Hurst as a junior.
Or he becomes a blocking back.
Right, and then his last year, he's injured.
And then they're throwing the ball every down. So.
Yeah, and then so he kind of sneaked through the cracks, and all the other 29 teams in National Football League are saying, why in the heck didn't we know about this guy?
McCaffrey on the move again. Elway back to throw it. Throwing deep. Incomplete, no flag. Willie Green, the intended receiver. The defender on the play. Booker was right there, and we'll have a field goal attempt. It's not been a good night for field goal kickers on either side.
One of the things that Mike Shanahan was saying about John Elway and his retirement is not whether he wants to play next year or not, but does he want to start getting ready next week to play next year?
From 37 yards, Elam. Yep. That makes it 34-13. They're going to keep it on the ground and get it out of his way. Atlanta, that's Kozlowski who picked it up, and finally he's cut down, and there is no return.
I think if I had Tim Dwight back there at Kozlowski, I'd kick it to Kozlowski.
I think so too. Super Bowl records, I should say, set or tied tonight. Darian Gordon, 108 yards combined interception return. Elway, 149 career pass attempts. Elway, 8 career interceptions. That's one he doesn't care about being read. 7.
I just voted for him for MVP.
You made a wise choice.
Thank you. Yeah, they send around the ballots, and that last time out, I just wrote his name in.
Chandler has it batted up in the air, and for the first time in a while, it's not picked off.
Yeah, Chandler's had a rough day. I mean, they've been getting after him. I think it's Trevor Price this time. Watch number 93. He's coming around here in a stunt. You see the 2 tackles crossed, and by the time he gets there, Trevor Price doesn't get blocked. But he's there a little late too. But that's the old stunt, and it just goes right off the helmet. It was Alfred Williams. You see that? The ball hit him right in the helmet. That's when the quarterback throws it too low.
2nd and 10 from the shotgun. Chandler pointing. Chandler drops, and he's rushed First again, gets away from it. He's going to run. Gets out to about the 29 or 30. 6:40. Clock running, and that's the big item right now.
Yeah, look what they've done to Chandler today. They've sacked him twice, hurried him 10 times. He was hit after he threw it 3 times, and he's been intercepted 3 times. And that was one of the things that the Broncos talked about. One of the things that they had to do defensively was rattle Chris Chandler.
I think they've succeeded.
I think they've done a pretty good job. Now they've taken away the running game because time becomes a factor, and they could just go after it.
Third down. Chandler from the shotgun. Not much time again. They go deep. The pass is caught by Martin. He's knocked out of bounds, and he had it, they say. He was airborne and hit just as he started out of bounds, and he might be hurt.
You know what the rule here is, if he's up in the air when he has control of the ball, and he would have come down with both feet in bounds.
I think he was down anyway.
He was down anyway, but if he was going to come down with both feet in bounds and he's pushed out, then that would be a legal reception.
3 wide receivers set up. One of them is not Martin this time. Ronnie Harris and Tim White are in the game, along with Jesse. Here's Chandler. Again, the ball is batted up in the air. Anderson had circled out of the backfield. I believe that's where he was looking.
Yeah, that's another thing that we should have put in those stats of things that have happened to Chris Chandler today is batted ball. Because again, you know, you don't always get to the quarterback on sacks, but you can get what you call a push on the quarterback, where you push right into his face and you push to that point, then you get your hands up. That time it was Alfred Williams again.
Yep.
See, now Chris Chandler, he almost fumbles that ball, and now watch him as he goes back there. He's starting to look down to look or feel the rush.
2nd and 10. Chandler. Inside Anderson. Cross midfield, not enough for a first. It'll bring up 3rd down, about 6. Darius Johnson up to make the stop. Martin back on his feet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the good news is he's back on his feet. The bad news is he's not out on the field, because the only thing they needed Tony Martin out there now.
Atlanta still without the offensive touchdown since Minnesota back in Super Bowl IX. That hasn't happened.
Yeah, well, they've squandered so many opportunities.
They really have. Yeah.
That's going to be their story. Denver's story is going to be very aggressive.
This time he has time. Gets it out. Pass caught by Terrence Mathis on his knees. Chandler just got rid of it before he was hit. Well, that's going to be one of the stories, the missed opportunities. The other will be what happened with Eugene Robinson last night. I'm sure you were familiar with that.
Yeah, that's going to be one that is going to be discussed for a long time. And as a coach and a teammate, it has to be real disappointing, because it really was a distraction.
Yep.
But that isn't why they're losing this game.
This is Jamal Anderson for just 2 or 3 yards. Atlanta has all 3 of their timeouts. Denver has 2. 34-13.
You know, another big story has to be John Elway. I mean,
sure.
You know, because I think that he'll be the MVP of this game.
I would agree with you.
Win back-to-back Super Bowls. And how do you retire after all that? Although Jim Brown did.
Go out on top.
Go out on top. And maybe that's a thing.
Chandler hurried up, got it out to Mathis, who's looking for some place to go but can't find it. Ray Crockett faced him down all the way.
Now that's the thing that you want to do now. I mean, you have, if you're Denver, you're ahead 34-13. You just want to play a soft defense, keep them in bounds, and don't let them get easy or quick ones on you. John Elway's goofing around down there now. You know, but he had fun at this Super Bowl. I mean, he was loose and laughing, and you know, in practice and everything. This was a very enjoyable week for John Elway.
Chandler up the middle, incomplete. And Chandler's down, intended for Tim White. Chandler got hit just as he let it go.
I think there's a middle linebacker, Glenn Cadrez. You see him right there.
Whoa.
He was falling down. Ooh, and he got Chandler right on that right knee.
No call. Bernie Kukar was standing right there looking at him.
I think Cadrez was blocked into him because he started to fall about 4 yards in front of him.
3 minutes, 8 seconds left. Big fourth down coming up for Atlanta. Mathis on the move. They pick up the blitz, and they're going to get the first down to Terrence Mathis. Down to the 24, just inside the 25. Dan Reeves. I don't know if he's calling plays or suggesting plays or what he's doing.
Well, you know, Chris Chandler was telling us yesterday that even though Jack Burns calls the plays, Steve DeBerg calls them in to Chandler, Dan Reeves gets more involved as the game goes on. I would think he would be pretty involved now.
First down. They go bunch on the left, and now Santiago was the man in motion. Across the middle. That's Ronnie Harris.
Yeah, I think that he's calling plays now.
I think so,
Dan
too.
Reeves is calling the plays now.
You know, one of the first things that happened when the two teams got here was Dan Reeves, when questioned in a press conference, said he wasn't too fond of Mike Shanahan or John Elway. That sort of went away with the other distractions that they had. But there was some gnashing of teeth about what went on in Denver. Here's Chandler in the corner. Over the head, just barely, Tim Dwight.
Well, you know, those things were all facts. I mean, that wasn't just some rumor or something was brought up. What happened was Dan Reeves was fired by the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
Dan Reeves did fire Mike Shanahan for insubordination. John Elway wasn't always happy playing under Dan Reeves. Those things all happened. Those were all facts. So
John Elway said, in fact, you know, I'm sort of famous for all those come from behind drives, the drives at the end of the game. Maybe I wouldn't have to come from behind so much if it hadn't been for Dan Reeves.
yeah, but Dan Reeves is a heck of a coach.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you put all the top coaches in this game, Dan Reeves is right up there with him.
Yes. That's Ronnie Harris, and he's knocked out of bounds. 34-13 the score. 2:17 remaining. Atlanta still hasn't used a timeout.
And those are the eyes of a guy that can't believe that it happened to him because in his mind, he didn't picture it this way.
First and goal. First and goal at the 3. Chandler back in the shotgun. Out of the end zone and almost picked off by Denver. They had a couple of shots at it. It was knocked straight up in the air. Romanowski, Mobley both had a shot at picking it off, but didn't get it. Atwater was back there as well. I thought they might run the play out of the shotgun to Anderson.
Watch Steve Atwater. He's going to come in right there and tip the ball. See number 27? Like he tipped it up and almost had it. If John Mobley doesn't come in,
Atwater had it.
this could have been an interception here by Atwater. He goes to interception, and his own guy, John Mobley, comes and knocks him over.
Second and goal. Chandler. Incomplete. No flag. No flag. That looked like interference, but no flag is called. No flag is thrown.
Yeah, we said earlier that that's one thing about Super Bowls, and a lot of times championships too, is they do let them play. If you're going to get away with something, they let you get away with more. Although that was good coverage there. I mean, you know, his left hand, Tyrone Braxton may have been on him, but I think that's pretty good. I mean, I would let that go too.
I agree. After watching it on the replay, which we might have next year.
Well, we will have next year.
Third and goal on the 3. Chandler. Touchdown. Mathis. That's their first offensive touchdown. They still have 3 timeouts left. Denver has 2. They're going to go for 2, I think.
See, Mathis here, he starts outside, and then he's going to come in motion. In fact, he gets in between the tight end and the tackle. He gets lost in there, and then he comes out of that hole. Outside of his tackle, you see right there, Chandler sees him and hits him perfectly.
They are going to go for 2.
Attempting a 2-point conversion.
Anderson, the deep back. They fake to Anderson. And Chandler throws it over Martin's head.
Yeah, not only today, but the great job all of them have done all season.
Again, the onside kick doesn't work, and against it's Byron Chamberlain who comes down with it for Denver. 2 minutes. Cafferty goes in motion. Davis hanging on to the ball.
Pro football without John Elway. And when you think of it, none of these Bronco players know pro football without John Elway.
John Elway under the center. Deep is Derek Lavelle. And Elway is going to throw. And does. And throws it to the end zone. And just the end zone.
I wonder what the heck that was all about. I wonder if he wanted one more pass.
He's disgusted.
Yeah, he is. He didn't want that to be a 4th down incomplete pass. And that was the thing that I talked about earlier. That this guy's a competitor.
Yep.
I mean, this isn't something. I mean, he has everything. I mean, he has the game. He has all the money. He has the win. He has everything. But he wants to be perfect.
He has also, in addition to all those things, a great family.
Look, he's still after it.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're gonna be great, you have to strive to be perfect.
And that doesn't mean 99.9%. That means 100%. That means every play.
And you have to work hard to get in that position.
And he's been in that position of winning a Super Bowl now 2 years in a row. 1:34 left. Chandler out of the shotgun. Jamal Anderson. They took the ball away from him. Denver has the ball. Tyrone Braxton came up with it.
John Elway wants another shot, I think. There's Neil Smith out there. I mean, this is the fun part. I mean, you know, getting here is one thing, and winning here is the biggest thing. Jamal Anderson is just trying to make something happen. He's trying to make a big play, and in doing so, he gets gang tackled, and doing that, he gets the ball stripped.
He was fighting either for more yardage or fighting to get out of bounds and stop the clock.
There's Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator, and Mike Shanahan. Both of those guys have done an excellent job.
So Denver with the ball one more time. John Elway, I've just been informed, is officially this game's most valuable player.
So my vote counted, didn't it?
It sure did. I don't think it's the one that put it over the edge. I got to believe a lot of people voted for
They
John
had to.
Elway.
I mean, who else would you?
What a class guy this guy is, though, Dan Reeves, and what he's been through personally, physically, and the turmoil that surrounded today's team.
Now, he didn't deserve what happened today, but he deserved by getting his team here. He's always been a top coach when he was at Denver, when he was with the New York Giants, and here with the Atlanta Falcons.
Elway, the most valuable player. Grabbed first by Neil Smith, then by Shannon Sharp, and then by Mike Shanahan.
John Elway can be the most valuable player for a lot of years, can he? For some eras.
He was telling us that we were talking with him about missing the game, and he said, you know, people always say you're going to miss the camaraderie, the locker room, the players. He said the thing I don't miss so much is that because I'm so much older than the rest of them.
But what he's going to miss is he's going to miss the competition. He's going to miss playing the game. When you play at the level that John Elway plays, there's not a lot of people in this world that know that level.
And not a lot of people know the feeling that the Denver Broncos have at this moment.
This NFL Films production has been brought to you by NFL Network. Watch the National Football League 24 hours a day on NFL Network.